Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. And I'm going to be talking about creating your staple stash today, which is the most important thing about my recipes, is having this staple stash of nuts and seeds ready to go for every recipe. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am soaking, sprouting, and dehydrating all of these different nuts and seeds so that anytime I make a recipe, they're ready to go. Why do you have to soak, sprout, and dehydrate seeds? Well, the reason you soak seeds is to remove the tannins, decrease the phytic acid, and remove the enzyme inhibitors. And when you do that for these seeds, it helps them to be easier to digest. You get more of the vitamins and minerals from your seeds. And I talk about this in more detail in a blog post I wrote, so you can read about that online. But also, this makes it so simple when you do it this way, because your recipes become 15-minute recipes instead of 8-hour recipes waiting for a nut or seed to soak. So all of these seeds, once they're soaked, sprouted, and dehydrated, can be stored at room temperature for up to 2 to 3 months, or in the freezer for even a lot longer than that. So you have this option to create this about once every 3 or 4 months, and then you have all of what you need to create all these recipes. So I'm going to start off by talking about let's say the sesame seeds. Okay, these are the sesame seeds. These are all the different nuts and seeds I'm sprouting. This is what they look like raw, and this is the same amount of sesame seeds after I've soaked them for 8 hours. And you notice the difference in how they've grown in the jar, they've expanded. The tannins, or the orange part in the water, that's come out, and the enzyme inhibitors, that's what you're seeing in this discoloration of the water. And so what you do at this point after 8 hours is you take a bowl, and dump the water out. Anything that's floated to the top of the water might not be very viable seeds, so I just go ahead and get rid of those seeds, like that. And then once all the seeds start coming, I stop and put my screening lid on. And then rinse it off real good. And then you want to rinse these seeds about 3 or 4 times until the water runs clear. So you just keep pouring water on until your water runs clear. And with sesame seeds, it doesn't take very long. You can see the water's already pretty clear compared to the way it was. Sesame seeds are one of the easiest seeds to soak and sprout. They'll start sprouting within 2 or 3 hours usually after you soak them. But the problem with sesame seeds is if you leave them for too long, they sprout too long, the seed will be bitter. So I usually recommend just rinsing them after they've soaked and going ahead and dehydrating them after that point. You can let them sit for an hour or 2, but you don't have to, because you don't want to risk having bitter seeds if you were to leave them too long. Okay, so that's all you do for the sesame seeds. Now they're ready to go into the dehydrator. Just put them on your trays in the dehydrator. All the seeds are the same. You want to dehydrate every seed at about 110 degrees, and they all take a different length of time to dry. And I have a chart that explains all that. And another thing with the sesame seeds is they're very small and light. So when they start drying in the dehydrator, they like to blow around in the dehydrator. They're so lightweight. So I've found this to be a neat trick, to use the Flax sheet, put them out, spread them out on the Flax sheet, or the silicone sheet, like this. And for every one of these nuts and seeds, it's about 1/2 pound of nuts or seeds per sheet. So that's a good way to know how much to soak and sprout for every time you do it. If you have a 7-tray dehydrator, then you could make 3.5 pounds of nuts and seeds at a time. Okay, and after you do that, then you put your mesh on top. And this prevents the seeds from blowing all over the dehydrator. It's really awesome. So when they dry, they become light, but they don't fly all over the place. Isn't that a cool idea? And then after they're dry, just take it off, and your seeds are all in one place. First time I did this, I didn't have this on here, and there were seeds all over my dehydrator because the fan blew those light seeds all over the place. So now when you started doing the soaking procedure, one of the techniques for all the seeds is to pour your water on about twice as much water as you have seeds. So it'd be about that much water. And then put about a teaspoon of whole food grade hydrogen peroxide. That helps to kill any fungus or mold or anything that might be on the seeds. And you leave that on there for about 15 minutes, and then you rinse it off, and then add more water, at least twice as much water, maybe 3 times more water than seeds, and just let it sit there for 8 hours. So that's the only thing you have to do. That's all you do, and then put them in the dehydrator. Now for sunflower seeds, it's a little different. These are sunflower seeds, and you can see how these have expanded, and you can see all the tannins in this water. It's really dark. But another thing with the sunflower seeds are there's some hulls that are coming off the seeds. And it's kind of hard to see because this water's so cloudy, but when you start pouring it off, you'll see the hulls. You can see them in the water sometimes. They're just the outer part of the seed that's coming off. And when you remove that, it helps to prevent it from being bitter, having any bitter taste. That's all you have to do. And then you rinse them a few times until the water runs clear. Same as you did for the sesame seeds. So the only difference is that you'd like to get rid of those hulls. So it's a little bit more labor intensive than the sesame seed for that reason. So we'll just rinse these a couple times. And the hulls will float to the top anyway because they're lighter than the seed. And here's what those hulls look like. Now it's clear. So you can drain those and put those in the dehydrator. Or you can let those sit for about a day or two until they sprout and then dehydrate them. And here's what they look like when they sprout, just before I put them in the dehydrator. And now you can do the same thing with flax. This is just flax seed, dry flax seed. But the trick with flax seed is that you're only going to soak them for 15 seconds. That's right, 15 seconds, not 8 hours, because flaxseed is a gelatinous seed. And if you soak them for 8 hours, you're just gonna have a big jello mess. So what you do, and they will never sprout if you soak them that long. So what you do is that 15-minute soak, and then you drain them, and then twice a day, you just put water on them, but drain it off real fast. You can just spray water on. This is what they look like after just a 24-hour time period. You can see there, we're not seeing any sprouts yet. That's gonna take about 3 days. But here's what they look like after 3 days, 3 or 4 days of sprouting. And now you just dry those. They make beautiful sprouts, and their nutritional value increases dramatically when you sprout flaxseed, like all other seeds. Now we have buckwheat. Buckwheat's really cool. Buckwheat you just soak for 15 minutes because it's a gelatinous seed also. And this is what it looks like dry after it's been dehydrated. But this is what it looks like 24 hours, not even 20, yeah, almost 24 hours after I soaked it for that 15 minutes. Look at those seeds. Look at how they're sprouted. It's amazing. And then I dehydrated them, and this is what they look like after they're dehydrated. You won't see the sprouts like you did right after you sprouted because they're drier now. So they're just on the ends, but you can still see them. They're just really small. And those are nice and crunchy, like a Rice Krispie treat, that kind of crunchiness. So they're great in cookies and salads and just anything. So that's the buckwheat, and now we have almonds. Almonds are awesome because you don't have to do anything to almonds. When I first started soaking and sprouting almonds, I had gone to a place where they told me I had to take the skin off every almond before I ate it because there was mold on the almond skins. And so I did that for a while, and then I realized that I did some more research and found that the skin actually has prebiotics in it that are good for you. So as long as you use a little hydrogen peroxide for the 15 minutes of soak time, you get rid of any fungus or mold that might be on the outside, then they're actually good for you to eat the skin. It has prebiotics in it that are good for your body. So that saved me a lot of time than to have to peel every almond after I soaked them. So these are awesome, and they're even better than roasted almonds. They have a really crunchy, light flavor. They're amazing. And there's so many things you can do with them. You can just eat them like a snack. You can put seasoning on them after you've soaked them for the 8 hours, and then when they're dehydrating, they absorb any spice you put on them. They're amazing. So they're a really good snack, good food. And those are just an 8-hour soak. Pumpkins are very easy. You just soak them for 8 hours and dehydrate them. They don't sprout. You don't have to go through any sprouting time with them. They just soak and get rid of the tannins and the enzyme inhibitor. So those are really simple. The same with Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are about a 4 to 6 hour soak, and you just dehydrate them. You don't sprout any of the nuts, just the seeds. And the walnuts are simple, but they're a soft nut also, so you want to make sure not to soak these longer than about 4 hours, because if you soak them longer than that, they lose a lot of their oil, their good fats, and they don't taste very well if you soak them longer than that. So just dehydrate them after about 4 to 6 hours. The same thing with the pecans. They're a soft nut, so the same thing. And you don't need to soak, sprout, or dehydrate cashews, macadamia nuts, or pine nuts. Those 3 nuts don't have enzyme inhibitors on them, and there's no tannins, there's not the things that we're afraid of with the other nuts and seeds, so they're awesome. You don't have to do any of that with those seeds. So if you do this once every 3 or 4 months, you'll have all this that you need to make all your recipes. If you have a freezer, stock your freezer. You only have to do it once every 6 months to a year. So have fun with it, and come see us for more videos like this one. Check out our social media pages and visit our website, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.